Hello everyone, I hope you guys are all having a fun day. I'm currently in my living room right now looking at one of my streetlights here. If you're wondering what kind of streetlight this is my remote ballasted Westinghouse OV-25 fixture. It's a pretty cool fixture, but I also have another fixture that is pretty much kind of similar to it, but actually has an integral ballast in it. So let's go ahead and look at that. And here it is. This is my Westinghouse OV-25 flat door. Let's go ahead and lay it down and do a little review on it. So like I had just said, this is my Westinghouse OV-25 flat bottom door 400 watt mercury vapor fixture from I think the early 60s. So this fixture actually has quite an interesting backstory on it. When I had gotten this fixture a year ago, and I'm sure some of you longtime subscribers have probably seen some of my older videos from last year, and at the beginning of the video I had done a little video clip on it. I don't remember what video specifically that was, but I can put it up here on the screen. Hello, it is Angry Birds Freeze King, and I have a Westinghouse OV-25 from the late 1950s here. In that video, it was kind of taken apart, and you know, there was things missing on it, and it looked kind of like it was in rough shape. Basically, when this light was in service, the street light, at some point in time, had actually been repainted a gray, whitish grayish finish, and it looked kind of bad. They had painted pretty much everything on it, even the flat door on the bottom here, and it was kind of looking rough, but at least the streetlight fixture did work. I had kept an eye on this fixture for quite a long time, and then one day it was gone, and I went ahead and actually found out that where it had been taken. It had been taken to a dumpster and it was thrown away. But when it was thrown away, it had pretty much been completely trashed. The lens had been smashed, the back door was missing, and something had gotten jammed up into the streetlight fixture and had actually damaged the original transformer in this light, and it definitely wasn't like burned up or anything. I don't know what happened, but it was pretty much butchered from being thrown away. But I was pretty much an amateur collector at that time, and I definitely collected anything that I knew was rare, whether it was in good shape or not. So I went ahead and got this streetlight fixture from that dumpster and brought it home. And as time has gone on, I've went ahead and kind of gotten it reconstructed. I got a new replacement lens for it from another flat door Westinghouse that had actually also been kind of destroyed, but the lens was still good. And I got a new flat door on the bottom of it as well. I went ahead and also put a retrofit kit transformer in it since the original one was pretty much completely destroyed. And even though it is not the original components to this light, I will say that I think you guys will be quite impressed of the retrofitting job I did inside the light. So don't get too down in the dumps, as we will take a look at that in just a moment. But yeah, I went ahead and at least got it mostly cleaned up for now, and I did at least put some silver paint on it, but it's not a nice looking hammered silver. I'm gonna repaint it again anyway, and there's some spots where you can still see the original paint anyway. So I'd like to eventually get it completely restored, but at least for now it's in functioning condition and I can do a good video review on it. Now that that's out of the way, let me give you guys a brief history on the streetlight. So back in 1959, right around when Cobra Head style streetlights were being built, major companies like General Electric, they had made their M400, and Westinghouse decided to follow that trend and come up with their own 400 watt mercury vapor Cobra Head fixture with internals in it. As a result of that, this is the light they came up with. This light was made for a short amount of time. This version was remade sometime in the early 60s, and instead of having a flat door on the bottom, they actually kept the front door, but they extended it to the back and made it look more streamlined, which then from there they started calling these the silver liners, as they do look very streamlined. But basically, since this light was made pretty much during a short time period, these are kind of hard to find with original components. And just in general, they're hard to find. Unfortunately, I don't think a lot of people really like this light, as it looks a little unusual having such a flat bottom section towards the back. It almost looks like the light was chopped off or something, but I still think this streetlight is super awesome. I will say the flat bottom section is a little chintzy. There are some things on this light I don't like, but I still have respect and appreciation that this light existed, and it definitely did play a big role in the movement of street lighting. So yeah. Anyway, now that we know a little bit of history on this light, let's go ahead now and look at it a little bit more closely. So I'm going to pan the camera up here, but it is definitely very streamlined, and it's definitely a very long luminaire. Now on video it kind of looks small, but it is actually quite a large luminaire for this, for the type and wattage that it runs at. These were only ever made in 400 watts mercury vapor, really. So yeah, you can see it's pretty nice and long, and it is good quality. The housing on here is a nice clean mold. Westinghouse's later OV-25s had some rough spots in the mold and some imperfections, and I will say this kind of has that too. As you can see, there are some little dimples. Those are not dents or anything from it being thrown away. That actually is a part of the mold itself, and you can actually see on the top there's some little notches there, and there's actually a seam kind of just running all the way to the front, and actually there's another one on the back here. So there's some unfinished surfacing on it, but I will say the corners and edges are very nice and clean. They're not rough or anything. The newer Cooper lights are all rough and you cut your fingers up, but this is nice and smooth, at least on the edges. And not only that, the cast is thick, so it is definitely a high quality mold for sure, as well as the door right here. Now this back section is actually a thin piece of aluminum, and I'm not a huge fan of that. We'll look at that a little bit more closely in a minute. But yeah, other than those small panels, everything else is pretty nice on here actually. So yeah, let's go ahead and flip it back up and look at the photocell here. This right here is just an area lighting research photocell from 2000, which is actually kind of cool. This is actually the year I was born, so this photocell as of right now of this video is 21 years old and will soon be 22 years old. It's just an average area lighting research photocell, and I'd like to try to get a vintage one on here someday, but for now this one shall stay, and it does work and stuff, so really cool. I'll go ahead and set that aside. Right here is our photocell socket. Now, Westinghouse's photocell sockets have pretty much stayed the same up until now. On their current Cobra heads, they're still the same, whatever Cooper lighting or Eaton lighting. They've not really changed the overall design of the photocell socket, but pretty much to get your photocell socket into the position that you want, so that, you know, depending on where you want your opening in the face, all you got to do is undo these two little screws here to lift up this ring, and it'll loosen this photocell socket here. Once it's loose, you can put a flathead screwdriver in here and twist it either which way to get your desired position. And then once you have your position where you want it, your opening will face north. So where you either face it towards north or wherever you want your opening the face, of course. Once you got that, all you got to do really is just screw these two screws back down, and it'll press that ring back in and keep that on. So yeah, pretty cool. The only difference from this one to the later versions is this one has a aluminum cast ring, and the photocell socket on here has spade terminals, so you can actually plug terminal wires into it. But the later versions eventually got rid of that, and they were just solid wire. But yeah, pretty cool. So let me go ahead and lay this on its back now. We can kind of look at the two doors that we have here. So even though there's a separate door back here and a specific door on the front, this is not like the power door modules that came out later on that GE made, or like the two-door models. All the ballasting components in here are mounted directly to the housing, but there are still two separate places to access each things. To access your Slipfitter and your socket terminals, all you got to do is undo these little screws here. They're just basic twist screws. Now, this door I had bought from someone online who had these replacements, and he was kind enough to mail this to me so I could salvage this Westinghouse. And it originally had some special thread lock screws with a flat bit on the top where you can use the screwdriver, but a lot of these that have those, they pretty much rust completely out and they're unusable. So I went ahead and just put some standard thread hex screws in here with flathead spots on them to use, you know, flathead screws in here, and they work just fine. So you take these two off to get this undone. Put those aside. And if the street light were up on the arm, you really would just open it back like this, and it would hang on those two little hooks that you can see. That one kind of came off. But, of course, since it's laying on the floor, you can kind of just unhook it. So, yeah. Now, here is that flat door on the back. I'm not a huge fan of this, just because of how thin it is and how easily this thing can dent. There's actually already a minor dent you can see right there, and I don't know if that was me or, you know, when this was originally in service. But, yeah. This is just a really thin piece of pressed aluminum, and I don't know if there's a label here at one time showing the wiring diagram and specs of the light, but yeah, it's easy to bend. Like I said, you can just bend it completely in half and probably break it. It's too flexible, and overall, it's just, yeah, it's kind of chintzy. It's kind of a shame. This is such a nice light, especially on the inside, and it's just sucks that this is haphazardly thrown in here with this light. If this was like a thicker casting and maybe had a better hook on the back, because these are just basic steel hooks. They're not terrible, but they're kind of weird quality. Maybe I'd like this a little bit better. I guess they tried to make up for it by putting these little line design details on it, whatever you would call that, but it still doesn't really hold up the same level of quality, really, in my book. So yeah, I'm not a huge fan of that, but that is a part of this back section. Of course, like I said, it covers all these things up back here. But another thing I noticed too, and I don't know if these hooks fail or if those screws fail, but a lot of these I've seen in old pictures where people will go and photograph these, you know, before LED had pretty much taken over everything. A lot of these would be missing, and I don't understand why these would even be missing, because there's nothing to access back here. All it is the terminal block and the Slipfitter. I don't know if maybe someone did that to try to see if they could get into the front section of the light and just happened to open the wrong one, and then they couldn't put it back on. But yeah, I find that a lot of these go missing. So yeah, kind of stupid, really. To get into the top section of the light, it's a little bit better. You can see there's a hinge right here that holds this sectional door up here. And as we go up here, we can kind of look at that refractor door. Pretty nice, and you can see these lovely Westinghouse wordings up here. You got Westinghouse in its nice beautiful bold letters. The emboss is nice and clear and mold, and it turned out amazing actually when I had painted it. Over here it actually says what type of luminaire it is, so they definitely wanted to make this luminaire iconic, I guess, in some way, or, you know, well known. It says type OV-25. I'm really excited to see that they put nice big lettering on here. A lot of companies didn't really do this type of thing. Companies did at least put their logoing on, but see the model number just right on the door is kind of nice, so I really appreciate that. Anyway, to get this off, all you gotta do is push this little lever button thing in, whatever you call this, and then you pull it forward, it unhooks from the thing, and you pull it back. And to get this off, the hinge on this is a little bit different. It's kind of just a slider hinge, as you can see right here. All you gotta do is slide it to the left or right, I guess, whatever side you consider this to be, and it comes right off. So really cool. Go ahead and set that on the floor and take a quick look at this. So you can see, like I said, it's pretty much a nice quality thick casting. They got some really nice detailing in here. I think this is actually for structure for the mold, but I kind of like it. It's pretty interesting. And back here where that section of the hinge was, you can see they got a nice piece of stainless steel metal here riveted in. Really awesome. And if we go down here, you can see a little area. I'm going to go ahead and undo this real quick. To take your refractor out, you just twist this little lever latch thing here and slide that right out. Put that aside for a second so we can finish looking at this. You can see as we have done that, you've we've uncovered a hole right here. This is a drip point hole for water to drip out in case any moisture builds up in here. But I don't really think moisture could get in here because it would get into that door and pretty much just drip out of the front first. So maybe not too important that they have that. But going around to the front here, you can see this little lip piece here. That is pretty much just hold the front section of the refractor down, and it's just a stainless steel piece of metal, and you can see it kind of just curves out and over to the front and clips right in, so pretty cool. And there's that little lever button style latch. Westinghouse did change their latch designs, but at least on their first model of the OV-25 here, they pretty much just had a standard latch where it has a tension spring on it, and then it has a hook, and there's a piece inside the streetlight that it hooks right to. So yeah, pretty much just a standard hinge latching design, but pretty nice still. It is nice and high quality and definitely thick. So yeah, pretty awesome. And again, let's kind of look at the outside real quick. Surprisingly, actually, this doesn't have really any rough edges on it, or any rough finishings, maybe except for that, but you can see where my paint job didn't come in handy. You can see some of the original paint still sticking through, and actually you can kind of just see it. That right there is the original paint on that button latch that they had just thrown all over this light. So yeah, I'm definitely going to get this thing taken apart again and sandblast it or sand it down somehow and get it nice again. So, and again, there's the lovely Westinghouse logoing in its fancy letters and type OV-25. Now, I'm not sure if the older versions from 1959 were like this, but my remote ballast OV-25 that I just showed you guys out in the living room a few minutes ago now actually has a different font. I think the Westinghouse logo has like some Times New Roman style font. Pretty much like what you'd see in Microsoft Word. So let me go actually take a look at that real quick. Alright, so I'm downstairs. Let's go ahead and zoom in real quick. Yeah, pretty. I don't know if that's just if the older ones were like that, but yeah, you can kind of see it's a little dim in here, but it does say OV-25, pretty much the same style lettering, but on this side it just has the Westinghouse logo in Times New Roman font. So I don't know if that's just something they did early on their older lights. One interesting thing to note too, this remote ballasted OV-25, this actually isn't the original lens to it. This actually has a formed plastics refractor lens on it that they currently still make these, I think, as of right now. Basically, I have it on this light to, you know, because the glass lens would be too heavy. It's just mounted to that railing. So, but yeah, the remote ballasted OV-25 actually has a different lens. So let me go ahead. We'll go ahead and look at those lenses upstairs real quick. So here is the lens. It's a little bit big on camera here, but I'm going to go ahead and go on the other side and kind of show it to you guys. Here is the lens that goes on this light. Now, this lens is slightly different from the later versions of the OV-25 lens, but it's pretty much overall the same. The only difference on this lens is that the Westinghouse logo isn't up here. It's actually down here in the middle. And I actually had gotten this lens off of another flat door OV-25 that was pretty banged up on the housing, but the lens was intact. So this is time correct for the light, but as you can see, there's that Westinghouse logo right there. They have the nice fancy W on it. Pretty cool, and it is very nice and clean in mold. As for the rest of the lens, it is also clean, clear, and mold. There's no rough edges anywhere. Has lots of nice refractor details. Pretty awesome lens. You can see my hand right through it. It's nice and clean. Definitely a high quality lens compared to the ones that were made later on. When Cooper took over, the lenses were pretty crappy. And I actually have one. This is the Cooper OVD lens that came out later on, and as you can see, there's this. It's rough and it's very glare-ish. The edges are kind of unfinished on it. It's kind of sharp on the corners here, and it's just not as clear. I mean, you can still see my hand, but like compared to this, like it's like looking through a window with the Westinghouse lens. But yeah, the later versions were kind of crap. and there's just all sorts of seam marks everywhere. Not really the best glass. You can see it right here. So I really do like, oops, I didn't mean to do that. The older Westinghouse lenses, they're very high quality. So really happy with that. Let's go ahead and look at the rim here and see what the rim says. So you can see it says Hall of Fame right there. Enduro style lens. It actually has a patent number right here from 1963. Pretty cool. I don't know. Those Westinghouses could have been made around that time. Let's go ahead and flip on the back end here. You can see it says Westinghouse style and so on. So pretty nice. Again, I'll kind of pull it up here. I don't know why the Westinghouse lenses have this, but they got this plus thing on here. So I don't know what this is. If anyone knows why this molding is on here, please let me know. But again, we can look at the Westinghouse logo, and you can see it's nice and clearly visible, so you know it's a Westinghouse brand lens. And again, yeah, this lens really is nice, and it's definitely a big lens for my camera. As you can see, it's really out of frame right now. But yeah, I really love this lens made by Hall of Fame. Let's go ahead, now that we've seen that lens, actually, let me show you the other lens that was on the remote ballasted OV-25. So here's the remote ballasted version. And this is an interesting lens. I think these lenses are very rare. But look at that difference. There's a huge difference. Let me go ahead, set it down here, try to get it in shot if I can. Just show you guys the difference here. It's quite amazing. It is definitely a day and night difference. Right off the bat, the first difference I'm definitely noticing is the front here. I don't know if this is like a 4-way style lens or just an older one, but you can see there's more of a circular pattern on this one, but this one has just a half circle pattern. The refractor details on the side, there's definitely less detailing on this one, but if you go over here, you can see there's a lot more refractor patterns on it. The front, I think, is pretty much the same. Yeah, there's less detailing on this one, so pretty unusual. But I like this lens actually more than the one that's on my flat door, and you can see the logo on it's different too. It has the older style Westinghouse logo from the 50s, and it doesn't have any of that plus labeling anywhere on it, which I don't know when that started to appear on it, but yeah. And oops. And as for the quality of this lens is also definitely high quality. It's just as high quality as this lens. There's nothing wrong with it at all. It's a great lens. Very interesting one too. I think these are very rare, but I don't know. If you guys have seen these on some of the older flat doors as well, please definitely let me know in the comments below. So yeah, it's pretty interesting that there's two different style lenses. I think I might do a little short video on these someday, just to kind of compare them, but for the hell of it. But for now, let's go ahead and get into the light now that we've seen all the exterior stuff here. Alright, of course, we'll start by the Slipfitter here, but first, like I said, you got these little hooks here that actually hold that little flat door thing on. The hooks are high quality. They are just stainless steel hooks that are riveted in, so not bad at all, but definitely am not impressed with that door. You can see the Slipfitter here, the bolts. These are brass finished bolts. However, these ones have been exposed to some moisture a little bit, so they're not in perfect shape, but I can always clean them and repolish them. And you got cast aluminum straps here to hold the fixture down to the arm. So yeah, basically a simple system where you just screw them down. And Westinghouse has actually kept this the same up until their third or fourth generation models. The terminal block here is a black backlight plastic, and Westinghouse in the 70s switched actually over to porcelain terminals, so this was probably a cheaper alternative at the time that they had used, but it's definitely high quality, and you can see some lovely readings on here for what kind of wires go where, and you can see the Westinghouse logo right there. So I'm really happy to see that wonderful, clean Westinghouse logo on there as well. And right up here, this is kind of some of your mounting hardware right here. for the door. This is pretty much the foundation here that holds this hinge. This is the other section of the hinge where it hooks right onto the door. And it's pretty nice. It's just, you know, some stainless steel again. Everything else here is some other kind of metal. I don't know if it's a brass metal or what, but it's a little rusted, but it's not in terrible shape. Also, you have some more side panels here that kind of help to cover up these sides a little bit where the door doesn't completely cover. And yeah, they're just basically screwed down with some standard flathead screws. These panels I don't mind being thin just because these are static and they don't move, but that door piece should be a little thicker though. But yeah, they're pretty good. And you can see our wires up here. These are the original wires. Basically, they go up to the photocell and come out and just hook up to this replacement ballast kit I have. And let me kind of turn in here. You can see the photocell socket, and like I said, these older ones have some nice plug terminals on here. Actually, it looks like I crimped one of the plugs. I guess it had probably broke. So really nice actually that you can plug stuff in like that, because it makes it a lot easier to work with. And I really like that, because it makes these so easy to repair and fix. I always say this, I like older stuff for the fact that you can take it apart, clean it really well, and restore it, as to where with the newer street lighting, it's all hooked up together and it's all static. You can't take them apart and clean them very easily unless you really do some fiddling. So really cool that there's screws everywhere so I can take it all apart and make it nice again. So yeah, of course, going up from that photocell, you can see all the wires here that go to this brand new replacement kit. The streetlight originally had a 240 volt constant wattage ballast, which is pretty much just a transformer that has enough coils on it to get the correct voltage into the lamp. So this light actually didn't have a capacitor or anything in it, and it was one of the old ones that actually had the red varnish on it to keep the wires secure and to help keep the transformer quiet, which those are pretty rare to see. It's pretty interesting. So it sucks that that got damaged. I went ahead and just threw that thing away. There was no point in keeping it at the time, so yeah. But despite not having the original transformer in here, I went ahead and put in this advanced 400 watt mercury vapor ballast kit, and this is, I think, specifically 400 watts mercury vapor. I think some of these can take a metal halide lamp, but I'm not entirely sure. I'd want to run a metal halide lamp in here, since this is pretty much just a mercury vapor fixture, you know. I won't be trying that anytime soon, but as you can see, it's mounted in here pretty nice, and luckily, on the bright side, this transformer is actually the same length in shape as the old one that was in here. So you can see here, I was actually able to use the original mounting screws, and all the holes on the transformer lined up. So I just screwed this transformer right down to the original bracketing hardware. And it was good because I was able to professionally install this and make it look like it was legitimate to the light. And of course, all my extra wires here, I just have them all tied up under this clip here. I utilized one of those holes there and put a screw in there, and I have all my wires nicely spliced and tucked away to the side. So yeah, I'm very happy with how this turned out, even though I don't have the original components. And as you can see for the capacitor, this is just a protective capacitor. You know, it protects the transformer from, I think, surging and overload, so pretty cool. And I went ahead and just strapped it right down onto the transformer, so it's nice and tucked to the side. So yeah, and this transformer is multi-tap, so I can do 120, 208, 240, or 277 on here if I want, but since I'm in my room here, I think I'll just keep it at 120, just so it's easy to hook up. Now, I will say, I know a lot of people would definitely prefer to have the original components in their streetlight, but if worst case you have to put a retrofit ballast in, I'm totally fine with putting a replacement kit in, as long as it's mounted professionally. I've gotten lots of streetlights where they'll have these, especially like 1000 watt lights, where they will have the metal halide replacement ballasts in them, and they're just mounted so terribly.
The capacitors, you know, just hang. They don't even mount the capacitors in them. They're just hanging. And the transformers are only hung up in by one screw. And I don't even understand how it stays in. But I've seen a lot of people too, instead of just trying to reutilize the original equipment, which sometimes they can, to remount the new transformers in, they'll just rip out everything and completely destroy all the structural components in the light. So instead of utilizing the original mounting points in the light to put the new transformers in, they'll just fucking rip it out like some stupid idiot and just destroy it. So yeah, I made sure while putting this in that I kept everything structural intact, and luckily I was able to, and yeah, it's pretty cool. So of course these wires here just do all your mercury vapor stuff, and most of these wires are newer just because they go to the transformer. I had rope coated wires originally going to the socket terminal here, but I went ahead and put these replacement ones in since I was upgrading this anyway. So yeah. And as for the socket terminal, now most of the streetlights I review here have adjustable light bulb sockets, but this one is actually a static socket. You cannot adjust it, you cannot pivot it up and down, and yeah, it just doesn't move. I'm not really a huge fan of having the adjustment settings, as I don't really think streetlights need it. I think it should always be fixed in one spot, but if you guys ever get any of these flat door Westinghouse OV-25s, there unfortunately is no room for adjustment if you want to adjust the socket. So yeah, but I will say this light bulb socket is really high quality. It's a nice porcelain, and it's an interesting mold and design because of how it mounts to this long piece of metal here. So pretty interesting. I'm gonna go ahead and get this reflector out here in this lamp. We'll go ahead and actually look at the front of the transformer just to kind of see what the specs are on it real quick, and then we'll look at the reflector. Basically, to get your reflector out, all you gotta do is move this little tab back off this hook, and it just slides right out. So pretty nice and pretty easy. Let's go ahead and flip in here. You can see the lovely photocell socket here with all the plug terminals going into it. And here is the advanced transformer sticker. You can see the little wiring diagram and so on. So yeah, really, really cool. Let's go ahead and move up here real quick. Our reflector, the tab mounted onto this. This is the metal strap where the hook on the latch hooks onto. So pretty nice. It's just a thick piece of casted metal. Really cool. Let's go ahead and look at the reflector here. Most reflectors are pretty standard, and this one is no exception at all. It's just a pressed aluminum reflector. This one is still a little bit dirty, but I can definitely get it really clean and polish it. This one came with a felt gasket, so just all fabric material, nothing too special. These are pretty prone to falling out sometimes, but if they do fall out, they actually are very easy to put back on. And they're easy to clean as well. All you gotta do is get a hot glue gun. You can see I just hot glued it right there a little bit, and just put some glue down and press it back down, and the hot glue actually keeps these on very well. So not too bad of a repair to do, but yeah. And it is a little dirty in here. I don't know where all this dirt and blacking came from. Probably just from service, but yeah. Here is that little strap on the front. It's just a piece of stainless steel metal, and you can see it's riveted in here. I think the dumpster has unfortunately loosened the rivets because this thing is super loose. Yeah, it was unfortunately abused quite a bit when it was thrown away, so yeah. But other than that, it's a nice reflector, and it does have some design details in here, I guess, to help aim the light in the correct direction, but it's pretty flat for the most part, not really too exciting or anything, but yeah. Anyway, now that we've seen all the insides here, let's go ahead and fire this thing up. So let me put this back together real quick and we can do that. Although one thing to mention real quick before we get started on that is this wonderful aluminum sticker here. Now luckily it's not too degraded, but Westinghouse, when they started making their OV line, started putting these really nice big tinfoil stickers in here, and you can see it says 400 watt mercury vapor lamp in big letters, so you know that no other lamp goes in here. And I really like those tinfoil stickers that they started putting in here. Really awesome. And before we put the lamp back in, this is the lamp I'm going to be using in this light. This is a Westinghouse, I think, lifeguard style lens. Now it's a little bit hard to see the etch on it, but it's not even in the right spot. There we go. It's a little faded on that etch, as you can pretty much see, but yeah, just a standard, I think, 1970s Westinghouse 400 watt mercury lamp. This actually did come out of a Westinghouse OV-25 that I actually had gotten from the 70s, so yeah, pretty cool. This lamp is quite used though. It's almost towards the end of its life, but it does give out quite a bit of brightness still. So I will definitely continue to utilize this lamp in this fixture. So yep, go ahead now and put that in the lamp and we can get started. Okay, so I got my Westinghouse OV-25 here laid down, and luckily that newer area lighting research photocell stays off when it's plugged in during the day, so pretty cool. I'll go ahead and turn the lights off and try to slowly close the curtains to hopefully get it to kick on. I love when they can kick on video. Pretty nice. So this is my either 1959 or 1960s Westinghouse OV-25 first generation flat door model, 400 watts mercury vapor in 1, 2, 3. There we go. Came right on. I think I might stick a piece of tape on that, just in case the light in here does turn it off. But anyway, let's go ahead and watch it warm up. Alright, so the streetlight is at full brightness. Now, it could be a slight bit brighter, but like I had said, the bulb is pretty much at the end of its life, or is coming to the end of its life. But if I go ahead and go up to it, turn it to the side here, it'll actually get a lot brighter. Oh wow. Yeah, it's still fairly bright, so definitely really cool to see. Let me go ahead and lay it like that. Let me grab the camera. We'll take a little bit of a look at it. Oh yes. Really awesome. You can see the sine wave on it. Yep, here's the door sections. Pretty cool actually to look at night, I will say. I think it's a lot more aesthetically pleasing in the dark to look at than it is during the day. You can see those lovely Westinghouse logos right below it, and I'm sure at nighttime, if you had good eyes, you could definitely see these wonderful details in action. So pretty cool. Here's the lens. You can see the nice plus logo or whatever that is for on there. Here's the Westinghouse logo. Very beautiful looking. And you can see the lovely details that Hall of Fame does on their two-way lenses. So yeah, pretty cool. I'd be interested to see what a four-way lens like this looked like. Really, really awesome. Like I said, it's clean and clear and mold, and you can easily see that mercury lamp in there. Unless the sine wave goes away, I guess. But yeah, pretty nice. I really, really like this luminaire. And despite not having the original components, it still runs, you know, mercury lamps. That transformer does a good job at running these mercury lamps, and definitely helps to preserve this street light. So yeah, let me go ahead and set the camera back down now. You can see how nice and bright this luminaire is. Really awesome. Let me go ahead now and flip the light back over. And I can plug it. Actually, take the tape off here. Let me try something a little different here. Let's open the blinds. I'm sure it'll take off. The amount of light. Yep, there we go. Awesome. So that's pretty much it. This light is really nice, despite some of the cheaper parts of the light. I do like the rest of the light as a whole. It's definitely really unique in design, and yeah, this light will forever stay in my collection, and hopefully eventually I can get it repainted and looking a lot more sharp. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this. And for the YouTube algorithm, please drop a like down below if you liked this video, or dislike if you didn't. I'm very happy to have reviewed this light with you guys, and like I said, these lights are pretty rare, I think, so I think they're definitely worth saving, and I think they're a lot cooler than a lot of people think they are. Happy I was able to review this street light with you guys today, and I hope you guys all stay safe, and I will see you guys later. Goodbye.